What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another edition of Sit Down Saturday. This week, we're going to continue with our monthly installment of this Bayverse Breakdown, leading us up to a Bumblebee at the end. Hopefully, it'll be out on DVD by then or whatever. Before we get started, I want to make this clear. I am not looking at these movies with a critical eye with the intent of tearing them apart because they're not G1. I have to use G1 sometimes as a character model to compare some of them to, but for the most part, what I'm trying to do is look at these movies objectively, look at the universe that they made for them, and figure out what does and what doesn't make sense. Let's get started. And we're going to start all these videos with telling the story as quickly and as briefly as possible. So it opens with the battle in China. We find out that the Autobots and government are working hand in hand. We also find out that Optimus Prime has given his piece of the Allspark to the government, and Sam has a piece with him that he's unsure how it got there or even if it's there. He's just sort of oblivious to it. The Decepticons are looking for it as well. Soundwave launches Ravage to get the shard from the government. The Decepticons rescue Megatron from the bottom of the sea. Sam interacts with his shard, which sort of possesses him with this information contained within. A pretender at his college campus is aware of his situation and seduces him in order to get the information. Old Crazy Thumbs kills her, but the Decepticons end up capturing Sam. They realize that the code is hidden within his brain. Prime comes to the rescue, and in the battle that ensues, he is mortally wounded, but kills Blackout in the process. After Prime is killed, the Autobots sort of split. Bumblebee and the twins, along with their IT hacker buddy, look for Robo Warrior, who is our guy from Sector 7, who informs him that there's evidence of Transformers here on Earth for thousands of years. We can see their language in a lot of ruins of olden times. And with information from Wheelie, who was spawned by the Allspark, they go to look for Jetfire, who is hidden in an air and space museum. Luckily, they have fancy special detectors to find him. During that time, the Decepticons expose Transformers to the world, so they're no longer a secret. They hijack communications and let the entire world know that they're the real deal. Sam and the guys get to Jetfire. Jetfire tells them the story of the Fallen, which is originally he was part of the 7 Primes. He was the original Decepticon because he strayed, because the Primes were going around using a weapon to harness energy from the suns, but their one code of conduct was to never do it on a planet with life. Fallen didn't see eye to eye, didn't care about the life. The Matrix of Leadership was what was used to power the weapon. The Primes stole it from them, hid themselves, and sealed themselves away in Jordan, which was a strange choice in my opinion, but that's fine. So after that information, Jetfire and the team use a space bridge to get to Egypt to locate it. They also discuss the idea of the Matrix possibly being a tool that would revive Prime. They call in the military for help. They find the Matrix. It falls to dust. They put it in a sock. Decepticons shoot in from the sky. Everybody's zeroing in on the big moment, which is this weapon that's hidden in Egypt. Sam's parents are used for a trap to capture him. Sam is injured. As a result, goes to Prime Heaven, which brings back the Matrix somehow. The Matrix is used to revive Prime. The Fallen gets the Matrix. Prime gets up. Jetfire's dying. Jetfire gives his body to Prime. Prime kind of becomes a God Bomber rendition of himself, destroys the machine that harnesses the sun's energy, kills the Fallen, wounds Megatron, the Decepticons escape, and Prime stands heroically on an aircraft carrier. This movie was done during the writer's strike. Look, I'm a cynical person by nature, so I'm not going to lay the blame of some of the problems with the story of this at the feet of the writer's strike. So let's start with some of the bad stuff. I don't like the idea of Megatron kneeling before the Fallen. This becomes a problem of characterization within these movies. I don't need these characters to be G1, but I need these characters to be true to themselves. Megatron kneeling before the Fallen doesn't sit right with me. I know it has lore in the comics. I still don't like it. The other problem that this movie does, and it's not necessarily this movie's fault, it's just how bad it got, was this is the movie that introduces Autobot roughhousing. Just romping around, and it's like, I hate it. I hate it in every movie, but this is where it started. And it starts with Mudflap and so-and-so. Speaking of which, let's go ahead and address that. So this movie caught a lot of flack for those two characters, and they were called racist. Now let's talk about that. Let's talk about that seriously for a minute. Racism is a serious thing, and it should be treated seriously. A lot of the reasons why I think it's often not is because it's overused and inappropriately used. When someone says that something or someone is racist, the room should all it should carry that sort of weight, but it doesn't because we use it inappropriately. Racism means that you think one race is superior to another purely based on race, or an irrational fear of a group of people based on their race. That's not what this is. What this is stupid, for one, but it's the projection of a stereotype. And it's the projection of urban culture, hip-hop culture, which, while being an art form that was created by black people, does stand independently from black culture. They're not necessarily the same thing. But the gold teeth and the slang and all that stuff, that is a stereotype of hip-hop culture, not of black culture. It just so happens that black culture is responsible for hip-hop culture. So I don't think it's racist. I think it's dumb, and I think it's perpetuating stereotypes, but I think that's how Michael Bay sees the world. I think he sees things within stereotypes. All of his characters are stereotypical. The Sector 7 guy, he's Jewish. Guess where he ends up working? In a bagel shop. Stereotype. I think Michael Bay literally had on a whiteboard, doctor, lawyer, bagel shop, and chose the only one that would make sense given his age. I just think that's how he sees the world, in a very stereotypical way. Dumb, yes. Racist, no. But I don't want to stay on them forever. Let's continue with characters, though. RC is made up of 3 bikes. She's called the twins. In my house, it's called triplets. Doesn't matter. But she's called RC. It refers to 3 bikes. No one understands it because it doesn't make any sense. Let's talk about the potty humor, because it strikes again. We see 2 dogs being intimate twice, as if once wasn't enough. Wheelie humps Megan Fox's leg. Mom eats pot brownies and then has some weird back and forth with her husband about she'll do what it takes to get an A in class or something strange. She tackles some guy out on the field. I don't think that this is the right movie for that stuff. Sometimes people think that I don't think Transformers should be for kids because I'm an adult and I prefer Transformers with sort of an adult take on them. While that's true, I think they definitely should be for kids, and I don't want to have to explain to my kids about what the brownies were and why they had the leaf on them and what all that means. Like, I don't want drugs in my Transformers movie. I don't think it's an appropriate place for it. Also with her tackling people on the... Look, I've heard marijuana has certain effects on you. One of those effects I've never heard makes you especially energetic and want to tackle people on the field. But that's aside. That's aside. It's neither here nor there. It shouldn't have been in the movie to begin with. Then there's this whole weird thing with an apple in the school with Dwight from Office Space or whatever, like eating the apple and then tossing it in, and then the girl eats the apple off of his foot. Like, it's... I don't know what it is, but I know I don't like it. Of course, there's the whole pretender tongue whip and then the tail that comes out that lifts up her dress. So like it's just tasteless. Like, it's just tasteless to me. And then, of course, the Debbie balls, which trash. Now let's talk about the good. The effects, even better than the first one, still hold up really well. The music, outstanding. Some of the best stuff to come out of all of these movies have been the soundtracks. There's a moment in the government facility where a government person says to Tyrese, "You're a soldier, your job is to shoot, not speak." And Tyrese says, "Don't tempt me." Look, Tyrese, I want him out of here anyway. I'm not a fan. I don't like his modeling, I don't like his music, I don't like his acting. Anyway, Tyrese says, "Don't tempt me." And then the camera pans up and Optimus looks down at him and says, "Easy." There is something very Optimus-y about that moment. Like that calm leader controlling the troops that does, I think, like, that resonates for that character. That works. In that same scene, we realize that Optimus Prime won't give up information about their weaponry to the humans because they don't want them to destroy each other with them. That also is a very Optimus Prime thing to do, and I dig that a lot. Optimus Prime continues to be some of my favorite parts of this movie, to include the battle in the woods, which I think might be my favorite live-action battle of the Transformers movie world. That moment where he stands up and says, "I'll take you all on," when he's being attacked by like 3 Decepticons, like, that is Optimus Prime to me. Like, no fear, gonna fight till his last breath for what is right and all that kind of stuff. Like, that is possibly my favorite moment in all of these movies. I kind of like Jetfire. I mean, the beard is stupid, but I kind of like the, he was a Decepticon, he switched to an Autobot, like, he's a little bit more mature, and I don't mean age-wise, I just mean, like, philosophically. I dig all those elements. That seems to be, like I said, in the right spirit. Like, he doesn't look anything like the G1. That's not what bothers me about it. It's about any of these movies. What bothers me is when they get so off base, right? It's when Ironhide says, "Punk-ass Decepticon." Like, I don't like that. What I like is, here is a character that is totally different from the G1, but it's true to the spirit of who that character was when he was created. That's what I like, and I think they did that fairly well with Jetfire. The Ravage on the beach, all that stuff really works for me in terms of how it looks and how it feels, and the fact that it's true to the characters. I'm with that. Now, let's get to my big issues with this movie. My problems for this movie are about characters and about the proper care being given to the characters, and for us to become invested in those characters, to care about the results. It's not like a Transformer thing, it's just a movie thing. For instance, if we look at the '07 film, the relationship between B and Sam is the heart of that movie. In this movie, he's getting ready to go to college and he's leaving the car behind and doesn't really seem to give much of a shit. And the problem with that is it just sort of renders all of the stuff that's laid down in the first movie kind of pointless in terms of relationship building and character development. But this is the movie that begins to unwind the thread of who these characters are, what they mean, and what they should represent. In the beginning, Optimus Prime executes the Crane Decepticon. That's not who Optimus Prime is. That's not even the character they should be promoting or trying to build upon. That's not a heroic character. Defeating him, one thing. Walking up to him and executing him, something different entirely. It's not true to the character. It's not true to the spirit of the character, and Optimus Prime is the foundation on which this house of cards is built. This is the movie that really locks in how they're going to treat Transformers for the rest of this live action franchise. And that is they treat them as special effect tools. There's elements to their lore that serve for plot devices. There's elements of their lore that serve for general plot, period. Allsparks, leaders of matrices, weapons that kill suns. But this story really becomes a human story. And they interject humans as much as they can when a lot of the times the Transformers could serve these purposes. Let me give you some examples. Sam is with Bumblebee and the Sector 7 guy, and they call in the military for backup. And then you go through this whole section of movie where you see the military gearing up and arming up and the orders getting passed on. My thing is this movie isn't called Soldier. Why can't Bumblebee just contact the Autobots and say, look, come, hurry. Please, we're in trouble. It would cut out 5 to 10 minutes of painfully slow film and replace it with actual Transformer interaction, which is what these movies ultimately end up missing a lot of the time. They go to find Robo Warrior, who is obviously a knowledgeable guy when it comes to this stuff, who ends up being the Sector 7 fella. But why couldn't Wheelie just know that information? Why couldn't he be able to decipher? Why couldn't that be like his thing? That he can decipher the code that's in Sam's brain. Then you cut that element out. And like a lot of this stuff, if they just use the Transformers to do it, it takes away from a lot of the messiness of it. And this movie is messy just like the last one. We have the IT people, we have the government people, we have a separate government agency that's dealing with the military that they're not seeing eye to eye. Then we have Autobots, Decepticons, the Fallen, etc. There's a lot of moving pieces, but if you just use the Transformers to actually tell this story, you can remove a lot of this stuff and it becomes very mainline. The Decepticons capture Sam. They try to get the code from his brain, but they still end up needing Soundwave to tell what the humans are doing in order to find out where to go. Like, just have them understand the code and go. And then you cut more humans out of this that you don't actually need. There's this whole bit with them trying to get clearance into Jordan, and like, then the Decepticons are tapping that, the CIA is tapping that. Like you could just cut all of it out and just deal directly with the Transformers once again. When they're going to find Jetfire, and the Sector 7 have special Sector 7 devices to find Jetfire, little Ghostbuster tools. Why not just have Wheelie be able to find him? Why do you need this human element? Why won't you let the Transformers tell any part of this story? I understand having a main human as the protagonist. I get it. But you don't need him to tell every element of this story. Like, the problem with this movie is really the third act, and it's because the third act takes so long to get done, and it's because a lot of these human elements. And let me explain what I mean. There's a lot of Transformer action in that third act, but you don't care. You don't care because you haven't invested any energy into them. Your energy, your emotional energy, your pathos, if you will, is all being invested into these human characters. So when you get to the third act and it's Decepticon versus Autobot and they're running around, and you don't care. And you're bored because they've done nothing to make you care about them. You care about Prime and you care about Bumblebee, but they actually put some energy into them. 2 RC motorcycles are shot down like almost back to back. No one cares because they didn't do anything with it. The whole MacGuffin of this story being the Allspark pieces can be boiled down into a pretty straightforward story if you allow Transformers to be the element that told them. And let me tell you what I mean. If only 1 shard remained instead of 2, like they established in the first film, you let the Decepticons steal it in the same way they stole it in the film. They can head straight to Egypt, and the Autobots could try to stop them along the way. The Autobots could lose track of the Decepticons. They could stumble across Jetfire. Jetfire could tell them the story. They go to Egypt and they have a brawl. Problem solved. You cut out the government agency, you cut out the IT hackers, you cut out all the fluff, and you just tell a Transformer story. Keep Sam in it, keep Megan Fox in it, the whole bit. Tell the human element as well, because you've already committed to that, and just tell a straightforward story. Now, before we get out of here, let's talk about our timeline. The only thing that they introduce is that the Fallen was here in 17,000 BC. I'm still not sure about the one date that was a point of contention in the last one. I haven't had time to watch it again. I will watch it. I will get to the bottom of it, but like I said, I was corrected multiple times, but I was corrected with different answers, so we can't all be right. So all in all, I don't think this movie is as bad as it gets when it comes to this franchise. The problem is that this movie lays down the groundwork for these movies to really go off the rails. And it's because of how they end up treating the Transformers in relation to the story. They use them for the story device, the actual plot, and then they sort of remove them from having anything to do with it. Once again, it's like Beast Wars. It's not what this does. It's what this allows them to do in the future. Thanks for listening. Thanks for watching. Until next time, take care.